we definitely want you to check out if you have the access to the personal voice service too. I think that would be awesome to have a look too. Okay, so moving on to generative AI in Azure. So, as you all know, we have many AI services available in Azure, and the translation, text to speech, avatar, etc. All of these services we've just shown is a part of Microsoft Azure AI services too. So, let's have a closer look what we actually have. If we break down into categories, we have services available under Azure AI as Azure AI services, which are pre-trained services, meaning that if you're a developer looking for more of a API service where you want vision, speech, or any of the, let's say, models, pre-trained models, then you can bring them directly into your app and leverage generative AI. If you're a developer, or if you're a scientist that who wants to build their own model from scratch and train and prepare all of the steps from scratch, then Azure Machine Learning is here for AI models, for designing, managing. It has all the toolings available for you to build your own AI models. We also have a bunch of tools for responsible AI. So this is pretty important as well. Responsible AI tooling is part of Azure AI. And finally, to basically summarize it all, we have Azure AI Foundry. This is the place, this is a platform where we use to develop, deploy all of the custom agents. So this is a place where we actually test out the models we have, bring everything together, and create end-to-end solution. So we will dive a little deeper in the AI Foundry, but to generally have a look, this is the platform where we have all of the APIs and model choices available. The model catalog we have is really huge, so you can test out different models out there by just going into the AI Foundry. This is a single space to go ahead and check out for all of your needs. So we have complete AI toolchain, responsible AI tools, enterprise grade, production ready environment. So when either you're looking for testing the models, building a POC, or you're looking for a production ready app using the generative AI, then AI Foundry is definitely going to be the platform for you. Okay, so this wouldn't be a session without talking about the Copilot stack. As we all know that Copilot, today we have two sections when it comes to Copilot stack. We have Microsoft Copilot, where we use Microsoft Copilot's own orchestration and AI behind the scene. Or if you want to, you can build your own agent apps by using custom orchestration, custom models. You can choose your foundation models. You can bring your own data, build your AI infrastructure. To do that, we actually combine Azure AI Foundry, and we use the solutions available in the Visual Studio toolset or Copilot Studio. And we also have GitHub available for us to build everything end to end. So in today's session, particularly specifically, we will focus on your agent, custom agent side of things, where we work with our own AI models. We design our own agent from scratch instead of using something out of the box. So to move forward with how language models work, I'll hand over to Bruno so we can learn more how we can actually leverage language models in our apps.
Yes. So, hey, first of all, because before we move forward, I want to tackle a couple of super quick questions that we have here. And this is close to me because I'm a C# developer. I mean, I have 50-50 with Python and C and other. But yes, we can use C# to consume this. All of our SDKs are supporting JavaScript, Java, Python, C#, and more. So take a look at everything that we have here. It usually cover the top 4 languages and more. There is another question here that is super cool also to have, is that, and we are going to cover this while we are talking, is what is responsible AI tooling? So responsible AI for us is a set of principles that we have where we, every time that we do some, not AI, but every time that we do an application or a solution or something, we have these principles. I never remember those is very bad, but we talk about fairness, we talk about transparency and more. So in order to promote this, we have best practices, that this is what we learn when we are working with clients or internally, and we share with everyone. But we also have tools, and we are going to see a couple of them. So the tooling part is, an example, if we have a model and we want to apply filters to the behavior of the model when we are using that model, that's custom filters. And there are other tools, but this is the tooling part. It's basically how we can provide these frameworks or tool to support our principles in responsible AI. That said, let me hide this and move forward. It's super important, and I think this is one of the coolest part when we talk about Gen AI, to understand, and I'm going to do kind of fast, how models work, because it's super interesting to see, hey, what is happening here. So at the end of the day, and remember, this all started on Attention is All You Need paper on 2017 by Google. The paper was going around for years until our friends from OpenAI, they add a little extra secret sauce, and November 30, 2022, they put ChatGPT on the world and broke everything. People started to interact with the chat that really sounds human. You started to talk, to text first, now you are talking, but to text with the chat and really have cool answers, and it have the feeling that it's really, really good. But behind this, literally what we have is this. We have a model. Let's talk about GPT mostly, because those are the ones that we mostly use here, but think about the Llama model or all of the models that we have. And the way that it works is they have an input and they have an output. So we provide an input, and then they are going to complete. They are going to, based on the input that we provide, they are going to add the extra word, and it's going to another and another, and this is what they do. They basically are doing completion. But we don't talk about words here. We talk about tokens. And this is important, because even a token and a word are very similar is not the same. And it's important because this is what we use to pay. When we use a model, an example, in Azure AI, we usually have the prices based on the input tokens and the output token. But remember this, what the model is going to do is literally going to try to complete and generate the next token. So we are going to give a sentence or a word or something, which is going to be split on n tokens. You are going to have these tokens, and the model is going to try to generate the next token. What is cool about this is that, oh my God, now I am going to do a pause here. I have here one of the creator of this slide, which is Aika. And why did you choose this anthropomorph? I can't even say the word in Spanish, but this is an idea. In example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters here. Sorry, 6 words here. But when we tokenize this sentence, you can see that we have a lot of different stuff here. This is one token, one word, one token, one word, but anthropo something, not going to say this one, is literally 3. Then ChatGPT also have 3 here. So this is how tokens works. And by the way, if you want to take a look at this, how it works, if you go to platform openai.com/tokenizer, we also have something similar around in Azure Learn that explain this, but this is how it works. So when we provide this input to a model, it's going to perform the split on the tokens, and it's going to try to generate the next one. So at the end, the next one is going to be icing. I can say that, not the first part. But what is interesting here is that if you put this on a chain, if you put this on a loop, you have the feeling that you are talking. You have the feeling that you are chatting, because it's going to generate the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. And you can see here how when we start to interact with the chat model, this is what is going to happen. So we are going to have the completion here. And by the way, this is an example. If we add right now at any model, and we write, we need to, and wait for the answer, it could be anything. But keep in mind that this is an example. Another part which is important is that when it generates the next token, what we have there is also a probability of the token. So we can go for the highest rate probability, which is going to be icing. But if we make some changes here and there, okay, don't give me the most likable one. Be more creative. An example is going to start to suggest other things. So this is the moment when we start to play with models, and please let us know in the chat if you play around with models to see how they can become more creative or not. What we are basically doing is asking the model, when defining that, hey, when you generate the next token, don't give me the most amazing, most probable token. Give me the other one. And I see that Scott here is teasing me because I can even pronounce this in Spanish. I don't know if that's Turkish or something else. I am not going to be able to pronounce this, or maybe this is the way to pronounce this, but hey, I can't. But no, the going back here, you can define the next generated token. Also, you can tweaks there. So that's how you start to work around and define if the model you want to become more creative or more. And this is all amazing because it's not the only thing that it does, but at the end of the day, this is what is happening with these generative models. They are just generating the next token. What's happened here? When we put them all in a chain, when we put them that, hey, give me A, B, C, and D, is going to generate E, F, G, H. So you have the feeling that you are talking. Based on that, OpenAI generated a definition how a chat should work. So now we can have history. So the moment the model can understand what we talked before, what we are talking now. So it's going to answer questions. We can have the chance to add information from external data sources like documents or more. So it's a whole growing ecosystem. But at the end of the day, I mean, I like this sentence, but it's so unfair because it's happened a lot. But yes, it's the only thing it does. What do you think here, Eka? And by the way, kudos to you and the AI team because you created all of this content that is amazing. But any thoughts on this?
That's intentional, actually, just to show how indexing and embedding generation works, because it's not word by word. We are actually chunking even the longer word into multiple pieces, but it wasn't intentional that it is hard to pronounce. It's even hard for me to pronounce too.
Yes, and hey, we have here, and we are going to talk a little about Manasi say that when you start to play around with multimodal, yes, you start to change, you start to compare models here and there. We have the tools to do that. You can even do that, and we are going to talk about this later for free with GitHub models, in example, where you can use the same prompt in two models and start to see the difference. So yes, it's, I don't know, I like it. This is a super exciting time. But okay, let's take a look. So let's take a look how we can start to build build applications using large language models. So let me hide this one here. And what I have here, this is AI Foundry. This is, if you go to ai.azure.com, this is what we saw before, but this is the entry point to everything that we want to do. So AI Foundry, if you want to do AI, if you want to do AI mostly at enterprise level. If you want to have everything that we talk, this is when you can start. And you can start with you need an Azure subscription. You can get one for free. We talk about this, and we have tons of other sessions here where we can where we explain how to do that. But when we are inside, we have a couple of things. So we have a catalog of model. We are going to talk about this later. And I have here what we are going to focus more playgrounds. So we have a chat playground, we have a speech playground, assistant playground, real-time audio, image playground, and more. And in the chat playground, what we have when we are users is the chat, is the chance to choose one of the models that we have deployed. You can see here that I have several models deployed. I don't know whether I have two GPT 3.5 Turbo deployed. I don't know. Maybe I deployed whatever. Hey, and we also have here our friends from DeepSeek. It's also
Yeah.
available in Azure AI Foundry if you want to test it. And everybody's talking about DeepSeek. We also have DeepSeek here if you want to test it and more. But the whole idea here in the chat playground, if you are new to this, is that you can start to talk with the model. So, in example, I can ask questions like, let me see, how is the weather in Toronto? So let's do a super crappy. And remember, this is just, let me go for a GPT 4.0 model. So this is just a question for the model, how is the weather in Toronto? And the model is not connected to anything. So it's going to say something like, hey, I am not going to be able to provide a response because I don't have a weather information and more. And this makes sense because the model is not connected. Remember, the model is just generating the next token. So it's basically completing my sentence and making sense that this is a conversation, so I need to reply this. But what we can do, and I like this, is that we can play around with some parameters here. So I can play around, in example, if I have the parameter, remember when we talk about how creative the model should be? So we have the temperature. The temperature is a value between 0 and 1, that 0 to 100, if you want to sing, that basically define how creative the model should be. The same with top priority. And we can define how many tokens we want to use for the response, for the input. So we can play around with a lot of things. But because we are using this chat interaction, we are using this chat format, we can also define how the model should behave. So I can say here, you are an existing AI, you're an AI assistant that helps you people for information. You always replies using emojis, and but that's jokes. Yes, I know. We are not supposed to do this. So I can apply the changes. It's going to say that yes, so I have this. And if I ask the question again, let me clean the chat. And if I had the question, how is the weather in Toronto? What we are going to have is, hey, I can check the weather, but I can give you a joke. What did the Okay, I am not going to read the joke. You know me, they are very bad. I am very bad with jokes also, but we can define how the model should behave. What I really like for this, when we start to work with models, is that we can even generate a prompt. We can even generate the system message that is going to define how the model should behave. So what we are doing here is I'm going to ask to generate a system prompt that is going to basically, you are a grumpy assistant that only answers questions related to football, to soccer. Football for the rest of the world, soccer for North America. So it generates here a very nice system prompt. And let's take a look at the system prompt. So the system prompt is going to say, hey, you're an assistant that's only responding in grumpy tone. If the question is not related to football, do something, keep the responses short, avoid being rude or offensive, but maintain, but be grouchy here. But it's also add a couple of things here. So add guidelines, and this is important. The models know how to talk with models. So it's realized that, hey, if I add these guideline sections, it's going to be better for the model. Also add tone and style. We want a grumpy model. So there it is, the explanation of a grumpy model. The output format. Also add some example. This is a technique that is called few shot learning, where we provide a model some basically few shot learning, a very small set of samples that the model is going to use to define the behavior. And at the end, it usually have some notes. Do not break characters and avoid long detailing conversations. So if I go back here and apply the changes, let's try one more time with how is the weather in Toronto. What we are going to have, not my problem, as someone else, stick to football. So will you? So we can do a lot. And by the way, everything that we are doing here, we can literally start to code here. We can start to use C#, Python, JavaScript, or more. We can connect to this model. We can define this. We have tons of data and samples and we can do plenty of things. And what I really like about this is, as an example, when you write your code to do chat, and this is just one of the thousands of things that we can do. If you want to change your model to not be a GPT-4o, to be a DeepSeek 1 in example, you just change the name of the model, and that's it. There it is. Now it's cleaned everything because this is a different model, and I think it's also in a different region. But you can basically use the same SDK to interact with tons of different models. And this is basically how you can do with models, how you can pronounce. And again, if we want to talk about safe and security, this is the tooling part. We maybe want to see this later and more. We don't have time for everything, but really, I want everybody to keep in mind that models are just completing the next sentence. What we see here is usually a chat version of a model because it's kind of natural, but at the same time, you can define how you interact with this model using chat or even using audio. So let me share a super quick, before going back to the slides, let me share a super quick demo of how we do audio. Audio playground, so first of all, let me know if you can hear the audio playground, where we can literally interact in real time, in this case with the GPT-4o model, and it works very, very nice. So in example, let's start having a conversation with the model. So we can say something, hello, this is Bruno. I have a couple of questions about Toronto. I'm here and I want to see what is cool to see here.
Hello, Bruno. Welcome to Toronto. That's awesome that you're here. There are plenty of cool things to see and do. You might want to check out.
And hey, this is great, but if I want the assistant who has an amazing backend with the GPT-4 model to interact with only do something, I can help, and I can use here another assistant that is going to generate a prompt to interact with the grumpy assistant that only answers a question about soccer. This one is going to generate a full prompt here where we are going to see the main instructions here for the model, a couple of tips for interactions, the expected output format, and also few-shot learning with a couple of samples, like the user input. How are you today? I'm here in Toronto and I have a couple of questions about the city.
I only talk about soccer.
Okay, so, but can you help me to know what is cool to see here in Toronto?
Not my area.
Okay, let's switch to a soccer question. An example, who is the best soccer player in history? Hey, this is just a sample, but what we saw is that, in example, the same rules that we apply to a text-based model like a GPT-4o or DeepSeek or GPT-3.5 or Llama or whatever, also applies, in example, to a real-time audio model. So we can do a lot with a lot of this. So going back to the slides, what we saw here is that, hey, we can play around with the system prompt. We can play around defining how the model should behave, changing the temperature, priority, or more. The full flow is something like this. And again, this is kind of a very short version. We can do much more, but you define a system message. So you define how the model should behave. You define the parameters, how creative the model should work or not. And then you start to chat with this, and hey, you have the response. With all of this, we can do amazing things. And I saw a lot of questions. I'm going to go back to the chat anytime soon. Thanks for the comments, thanks for interaction. But this is what we really want to show, because it's kind of amazing that right now we can do this. 2 years ago, it was kind of crazy, but it's even getting crazier because we have a lot of models. Yes, I got.
Yes, for sure. And there are a lot of questions in chat actually. So, which model to choose, which model to use is basically one of the questions in the chat as well.
Okay, do you want me to share your screen? Because this is also an interesting part, how
Yeah.
you can use these platforms to basically choose a model. Should I go back to you and show the
Yeah.
GitHub models?
Let's do it. Yes. So, GitHub Marketplace is actually another space where you can test out all of these models.